You know, it's almost funny, but not in a ha-ha kind of way, more like a dark, ironic kind of funny, because every time I talk to friends, every time I talk to family about what's really going on here in California, I feel like I'm holding up a mirror and they refuse to look into it. We have literally got folks cheering for politicians, voting the same way year after year, and don't realize these same leaders they're rooting for are smiling in their faces while gutting their future behind closed doors. Rhetorical question for you. How can someone not notice when they're getting robbed blind in broad daylight? Because here's the truth, and it's backed by years of data. California has the highest prices in the country, one of the highest tax burdens, and a cost of living so extreme that the average person to live comfortably needs to make over $42 an hour just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in places like Los Angeles. Yet, folks keep voting for the same people who created these conditions. But luckily, there is a silver lining. I'm finally starting to see some people opening their eyes, people finally waking up. And the good thing about that is once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep.
This message is for the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Who do you think you are? You have single-handedly destroyed the city of Los Angeles under your incompetent and corrupt leadership, if you want to even call it leadership. While you have been mayor, you and Gavin Newsom have spent over $30 billion to help the homeless people of Los Angeles. Yet, there are now more people homeless than when you took office. And there's people like me that work full-time and have to live in our cars because we don't make enough money to afford rent anymore. Every other street corner.
Hold on. Now, what this guy is going through is not rare. It's not special, and it is definitely not unique. In fact, it's commonplace here in California. But here's the catch. It's not his fault. Because if you zoom out, and I mean really take a bird's eye view of the country, you'll notice something interesting. It's not like that in every state, especially not in many Republican-run states where gas is cheaper, housing more affordable, and small businesses are not being choked by endless regulations. Now, I know some of you folks don't want to hear that, but the facts are the facts. If you can't see the difference, then chances are you've been caught up in one of the most carefully designed psychological traps of our time. It's propaganda, not the dramatic movie kind, but the slow drip kind, the type that flips the script on reality. It convinces you that the one that is trying to help you is the villain, and the one hurting you is the hero. Think about that. That's not just confusion, that's mind control, wrapped in a political campaign.
Corner in this city is now a homeless encampment. There is trash everywhere, no matter what side of town. Even in the nice, quote-unquote, nice areas of town now are littered in trash. There's human feces on the sidewalks. There are people living on mattresses on the sidewalks now in Los Angeles. It is out of control. In January, when part of the city was burning down, the Palisades in Malibu and Topanga, where were you? You were on a vacation in Africa, even though your advisors told you of the fire risks, of the wind risks, that the wind...
So wait for a second. Let's go back to when the wildfires hit. There were homes burning. The air was thick with smoke, and people were literally fleeing for their lives. And where was Karen Bass? Out of the country. I said it then, and I'll say it again today. When you are the mayor of a city like Los Angeles, a city drowning in crisis after crisis, you don't get to take a vacation. Not when tens of thousands are homeless. Not when families are struggling to afford rent, food, and gas in the same week. Not when businesses are leaving and crime is rising. Being mayor of LA is not a part-time gig. It's a full-blown, all-hands-on-deck emergency post. If Karen Bass really cared about fixing the city, she'd be on TV every single day, holding press conferences, showing progress reports, rallying the public to help clean up the streets. But you don't see that, do you? And you know why? Because deep down, she's not here for the people. She's here to protect the interests of the ones pulling her strings. She's a paid puppet, sent to keep us pacified while the real power brokers drain what's left of this city.
Winds were really high during that time, yet you still thought it was important for you to take a vacation to Africa. This is absurd. I don't think you should be running a McDonald's, let alone the largest city in California.
Right.
You have destroyed this city, and you have destroyed people's lives, and you have the audacity to seek re-election? I hope that the people of Los Angeles next year, when they go to vote you right out of office, because you have no business representing the people of Los Angeles with your incompetent and corrupt leadership. This has got to stop.
Now look, I don't think that Karen Bass single-handedly destroyed this city. That's not what I'm saying. She didn't build the house. She just picked up the baton and kept running in the same direction. You see, this is a relay race of ruin, and she's just the latest runner on a track paved by decades of Democratic control in California. But here's the truth we need to sit with. This isn't just about party lines. It's about who these politicians really serve. Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, and most of California's Democratic leadership, they are not working for you. They are not working for me. They serve lobbyists. They serve mega corporations. They serve shadowy entities with one goal: to buy up California, push out people who can't afford to stay, and leave behind a playground for the ultra-rich. Can't you see it? A city of servants working for the ones who own the land. If that doesn't sound like a setup to you, it's time to step back. It's time for you to breathe deep and ask yourself, who sold you that illusion? Mainstream media? Celebrities? Late night comedians like Jimmy Kimmel? It's time to reverse the spell. It's time to do a little research outside of mainstream media. Read Substacks and stuff like that. Reclaim your mind, because California does not have to fall. But first, we've got to wake up. Oh my word. This is what Los Angeles looks like now. And to be honest, this is what liberal California looks like as a whole. You are seeing the results of a city and a state that's been sold to the highest bidder, not by strangers, not by outsiders, but by the very people we elected to fix it. And because so many of our neighbors are caught up in personality politics, taking selfies with smiling politicians outside of places like the Marathon Burger, they can't see the truth. Those same grinning officials are selling off your future and your children's future. The laws they pass, they aren't practical. They're ideological, crafted by people more interested in reshaping reality than dealing with it. They want to change minds, not fix streets. They want to push narratives, not house the unhoused. And here's the kicker. This chaos, it's profitable. Homelessness breeds an entire industry, nonprofits, consultancies, foundations. And what do? They collect your tax dollars. If they actually solve the problem, they'd be out of business tomorrow. You're paying for the failure, and year after year, it's only getting worse. You know, I often say this, and I stand on it. There is a big difference between being nice and being kind. You see, nice people, they show up with a camera. They hand out sandwiches. They smile for Instagram and feel good about themselves. They virtue signal, hoping that surface level charity somehow solves systemic decay. But there's the kind person. They go deeper. A kind person sees the real issue and says, wait a minute. We have the money. We have the infrastructure. We have the experts. So why are the people still suffering? You see, kindness demands accountability. It demands the government use the billions in tax dollars we're already paying to actually fix this, to actually feed the homeless, house them, treat the mental health crisis. That's the job. That's their job. It's not your job, and it's not my job. It's the job of the leaders we elected, the ones who forced us to pay these taxes in the first place. But what do they do instead? They sit back and watch you pass out snacks while they write checks to their lobbyist buddies, fund billion-dollar bullet trains that no one asked for, just to hike up gas prices, all while preaching their latest climate hustle. Once again, it is not compassion, it is corruption. And the only reason it seems like people are buying into it is because the mainstream media covers for them. Just like they did when they told you with a straight face that Joe Biden was fit as a fiddle. Well, now they're getting exposed and suddenly they want to act surprised. Check out this clip from John Colby.
Federal funding for high-speed rail has been cut off by the Trump administration. That's about $4 billion on the table. It's no longer on the table. And this is a great day. Now, that does not stop the jackals in Sacramento. These guys are criminals, con artists, and thieves. And to prove it to you, a spokeshole for this criminal California High-Speed Rail Authority provided this statement after the Trump administration announced the cutoff. The governor's budget proposal, which is currently before the legislature, extends another at least $1 billion per year in funding for the next 20 years. 20 years, providing the necessary resources to complete the project's initial operating segment. So that's what's sitting in the new budget bill. $20 billion, $1 billion for the next 20 years at least. So this is what these criminals in Sacramento, in the Assembly, State Senate, Gavin Newsom, high-speed rail, they want to take $20 billion more of your tax money and blow it on whoever is on the other end of these contracts. They're trade unions, but I think normally when you're in a construction union, you construct things, you build things. There's nothing useful built. Nothing. No rail, no train stations, nothing. So those unions are stealing the money. And then you have lawyers, environmental consultants, business consultants, all kind of land use consultants. They all stole the money. There was several audits.
Money.
One of the audits said, there's no invoices. We don't know who received these billions of dollars.
Well. Now let's be real. There are conservatives out here trying to stop the madness. They see what's happening. They call it out. But here's the problem. They do not control the megaphone. The mainstream media, all of it is controlled by liberal interests. So what most people see, hear, and believe is carefully crafted propaganda. It's from the television to the late night shows, morning news, Hollywood. It all moves in lockstep to shape public perception. They tell you what to think and why to think it. But those of us who read, who ask questions, who hit the streets and talk to real people, we see through the illusion. We can see the scam. California Democrats are getting filthy rich, and they're using us, everyday citizens, as pawns to do it. Projects like the 6th Street Bridge, that wasn't about culture. That wasn't about progress. It wasn't even about city pride. That was a money grab. Plain and simple, a vanity monument built on the backs of people who can barely afford gas and groceries. And even when President Trump cut off federal funding for that ridiculous high-speed rail to nowhere, it wasn't just about policy. It was about exposing the truth. He wanted to show everyone that California's political elite have no shame. And guess what? He was right. Because these Democrats, they don't even care. They're still finding new ways to siphon your tax dollars into bottomless pits of corruption. That train won't solve homelessness. It won't stop crime. It won't even get finished. But it will line the pockets of consultants, land developers, trade union executives, and shady politicians collecting kickbacks like candy. And while they get rich beyond your wildest imagination, you'll either end up homeless or forced to leave the state you grew up in just to survive. They're not smiling because they're doing good. They're smiling because they're getting away with it.
Moments ago, I forced a vote on the Senate floor to repeal Governor Newsom's 65-cent gas price hike. Not one single Democrat supported the motion. Democrats had a choice: stand with California families or protect Governor Newsom's gas price hike. They chose the gas price hike. Californians pay the highest gas prices in the nation, $1.60 more than the national average. We're not giving up. I will keep fighting to lower your prices at the gas pump.
Now, why in the world would California leadership want gas prices even higher when they're already the highest in the entire nation? Well, here's why. They're panicking. Because for the first time in a long time, we're starting to see real conservative leadership step in. Leaders who aren't afraid to cut through the corruption. And these corrupt politicians, they know it. They feel that pressure. They see that people are waking up to how billions of our tax dollars have been wasted, misused, and or flat out stolen. And now they're trying to cover their tracks by squeezing us even harder. They'll raise taxes, hike gas prices, and blame everyone else just so they can keep funding their own backroom deals and personal empires. And here's what makes it worse. Too many people here still look at these politicians like celebrities, as if they're idols to be admired instead of public servants hired to work for us. And the media, as always, they twist the story. They paint saving money, lowering taxes, and less government overreach as some kind of a threat instead of what it really is: freedom. So when President Trump says, "I'm cutting federal funding to California," he's not being cruel. He's calling out the fraud and abuse. But the media flips it. And the people here let Sacramento and LA raise taxes even higher, as if that's a solution. But here's a silver lining. President Trump isn't someone who quits. And I believe, like many of you probably believe, that he has strategic plans already in motion to put an end to abuse once and for all. And the movement is already starting. Check out this last clip on the California homelessness crisis and what Republican leadership is doing right now to turn this around.
Billions of dollars in homeless funding has been spent. Grand juries, subpoenas, even arrests are all on the table. Matt Finn is reporting live from Los Angeles on this. You sat down with the U.S. Attorney. What did you learn?
Well, Sandra, the Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, they take a lot of heat for the ongoing homeless crisis here. Well, now there's a new Republican, MAGA-aligned United States Attorney here in Los Angeles, Bill Asaley. He just launched a federal probe investigating exactly where California's homeless dollars are going. The FBI and IRS are going to assist. Asaley estimates $24 billion in homeless funding statewide over the past 5 years, much of that spent here in Southern California.
We will get to the bottom of it, and if we find that any federal laws are violated, we will arrest and prosecute those individuals involved.
The new U.S. Attorney points to a recent audit that revealed more than $2 billion in homeless funds is unaccounted for here in L.A. County alone.
We want to know who's getting the money and who's benefiting off this, because it's not the homeless people here in Los Angeles. The problem's gotten worse. There's about 7 people dying every night on our streets, and that's unacceptable.
Governor Gavin Newsom and the chair of the LA County Supervisors tell Fox they welcome Asaley's investigation. However, LA Mayor Karen Bass, who says homeless numbers dropped by 10% last year, she says she doesn't want the investigation to be, quote, a fishing expedition or a distraction from her homeless mission. Now, there is also a federal judge here, David Carter, who is pictured touring Skid Row this past Sunday with Asaley. The judge calls LA Homeless Services the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He is also aggressively auditing homeless dollars here. He told Mayor Bass and the LA County supervisors he's going to be their worst nightmare if they don't fix it by next month. Sandra.
Matt Finnan with that story for us. Matt, thank you.
Okay. So in closing, if you ever wondered why they seem so violently opposed to Trump, an outsider who just so happened to lean conservative, this is why. Because they knew that he would pull the curtain back and expose the deep embedded corruption that has rotted liberal-run states from the inside out. These Democrats, many of whom have ruled California for decades, have been robbing taxpayers blind. And I mean blind. Because the truth is, a lot of hardworking folks still believe the lie. They still think that these politicians are doing them a favor by raising taxes, by allowing crime to flourish and showing up for photo ops to smile and shake hands like they care. But now, finally, people are starting to investigate. People are asking the real questions. And always it comes back to, where did all that money go? How can you get billions of dollars to solve a problem like homelessness, crime, or infrastructure, and yet the problem gets worse every year? Either you're completely incompetent or you're competent and crooked. And I don't know about you, but I'm leaning hard towards the latter. Anyway, that's it for today, but stay tuned because this story and so many others like it are still developing. I'm Wolf Kage, and this is Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share because the truth deserves to be heard. And until the next time, stay sharp, stay real, stay vigilant, stay unwoke, and stay free. Peace.